All right, welcome to this video on is Doge dead or does it still have life? Can I still trade it? Can I not trade it? Is it all those questions that just keep coming in. Is it a good time to get Doge? First of all, I'm going to answer with I cannot tell you what to do, and I won't tell you what to do because that would be licensing that I don't have. I am not a financial advisor, and you've read the disclaimer, and I'm counting that you have read it because it is your responsibility. This is for entertainment and educational purposes only. So I'm just going to do an analysis based off of that, and then you can decide for yourself what you agree with, disagree with, and you take responsibility with your own financial advisor as to what you're going to do. This is just like somebody else sharing with you, hey, these are my thoughts. And based off of that, you can see if that agrees with yours or not and go from there. If you were on and saw my previous video on Doge, the long term, you would have seen something like this. Big old mess, right? Lots of drawings, lots of things. And it's saying, well, the basic idea of that whole the longer term trend of Doge is that it looks like it's very likely that we're going to hit lower levels, at least back into the revisiting some of these 15, 16, maybe 17 cents. And if it does not hold in that space, then it's very likely that we're end up visiting these levels of 8 cents or possibly a little bit below that down to the 5 cents, which is crazy if you happen to have gotten caught up here. Hopefully you didn't, but this is why technical analysis and education and training and strengthening your own knowledge is one of those things that's very powerful. That's why we went in the route that we did, and we continue to share it freely in this channel. And for those of you who want to take another level, we have obviously other things that we do to help. But for those of you who are looking at this right now and saying, okay, I want to stay updated as to anything that we share, you're welcome to hit that like button and subscribe, and then you'll be able to do so. So now let's pick up where we left off and saying this, every opportunity on Doge gone. Is it, or do I have a chance? What can I consider as reasonable within this trend? Well, let's start with the long-term trend. We got a head and shoulders. So in the bigger time frame, in the one-day time frames, we're seeing that this thing up here is really still ranging in this area between 29 cents and 15 cents in the US dollar. The mid-range of that is roughly around 21, and going, okay, well, is it tradable? Well, some people believe like, I think it's going to stay in a little channel because it just seems to want to have broken above this. It hasn't really confirmed that it's been a true breakout yet. It could be a fake out and then coming back to the bottom. But if it is, it manages to stay in here, then you're probably going to see a little bit of ranging, and that range, it's somewhere in that 35% or so range, right? In this little range between here and here. So if that's the case, is 35% gains reasonable? Yeah, I'll take those all day long, especially if they're not going to take too long. But when what happens if it does the bottom half? What if it goes into the bottom half and then and then you're wanting to do something short? Is there opportunity there? Well, the down from there to that previous support, that's a good 28%. That's still reasonable. Or what if it decides to stay within the bigger channel of that, the bottom of this and the top of that? Well, that's 89% in the up direction. Or on the way down, if we go the other way, and you're going to do shorts, then you can get a good 46% on that you would be able to be ranging. So it doesn't mean you catch all of it, but that's a decent range to be able to take some swings or possibly even day trades on this particular crypto. So this is what we love about crypto. The fact that it has more volatility means it has more opportunity, but also it has more risk. That's why I will not be making any kind of advice or giving any kind of advice. I'll be sharing what my thoughts are. So let's drop, now that we understand where we are in this particular market cycle right here, it's saying, okay, well, we're going to probably be ranging somewhere in this arena before it really determines where we're going to go. Sort of like it did here. So we kind of came in here, it ranged, it tried to break out, couldn't, came back down, and then it started staying towards the bottom half of this channel, and then it pushed down again. Well, this is early in this particular channel. This is like this bar, in essence, if you would. and there's that initial push up. You can consider that part of that initial push up if you want to, and then back down, try to push back up. So I think it's going to be doing that for a little while, and could be weeks that could happen. And then from there, before it determines whether it stays towards the top half of here or if it goes towards the bottom half of this channel. And if it does the bottom half of the channel, then we're looking down into this region to the 9 cents as the next sort of stop, if you would. So understanding that, let's drop into a smaller time frame. If you are swing trading, you're looking at somewhere between the 4 hour, 1 hour to 4 hour range, depending on how aggressive you are in your entries and your exits. And let's see, where are we in this particular section right here of where we are trading. In this particular setup that we had, we're going to draw a smaller fib that we have, and let's see what we can find there. Well, actually, before I even do that, let's do this. See, here's the breakout right here that we talked about. It made that W, came up here, it broke through this bigger trend line, this white line right here that you see. I'm going to make it a little thicker so that we can see a little more clearly right there. And it broke above that. It broke up with some level of strength, but not super strong. And then it pulled back into here, and it's testing. Now, if this thing manages to stay above and then stays in this general region in here, then it may very well give us a chance to break a little bit more in the upward direction up in here. However, we haven't finished the cycle, so we don't know. Right now, all we know is that it started on a nice push up. I'm going to do that here. I'm going to pick a little ray right here between here, and I'm going to take that trend. That's a trend where it was headed, and that trend is broken down. So now the question is, from here, is it going to continue to push down, or is it going to be able to bounce and take that ride up? I think that let's look into a smaller time frame, see where we are here. Okay, what are we at now? We're at 1 hour to get a better picture of where we are. Now here, it's looking a little interesting because we have potentially a head and shoulders pattern forming. You've got the bottom of this, a potential shoulder here, there, head. If that comes down into this region here, then I could see it trying to come back into this here again. And if that's the case, now we're ranging down into this section right about here. And based on why here, because there's a little bit of support in this areas right here, and then we also have major support right in there at the 15 cent mark. So could it push down in here? It could, but it's definitely gonna, most likely, in my opinion, gonna give a little bit of a bounce around here to see where we are. So if that's the case, if I'm seeing that this is a possibility, then I might consider, if I'm going short on some of this, I want to measure this out and say, well, from here to here, what would that be? That's a 32% gain. Okay. Do I want to ride it up if it bounces off of here with the possibility of it going up to get 17%? Yeah, I would consider that for myself. Because if it does continue on up, then I caught it on the way up. Now, if it starts having trouble with the shoulder right here, and why there? Because you've got that support right here, or that resistance right here that's formed, and we need to find out where people are according to that. So if it gets bounced off of there, then it may come down into this region, and once it completes, then we can start considering the next cycle on up. Okay, so I'm going to erase this so that we don't get confused with so many blue lines. So that being said, here, that's a trading plan that I'd be considering. And if it looks like from there I have another bounce, then I could consider getting back into here and trying to break out again and seeing if we can hit that one. So look at that, a 16, 17%, a 32%, and a 73%. Those are all very reasonable opportunities. We're going to leave this out. If you want to see in, maybe a few days or a week how this played out to see how accurate we were, that would be a really good test for all of us. Because nobody gets it perfect. So even if we don't get it perfect, we can definitely take a look and say, where did we miss some detail? Now, this is without any other major tools. Let's see what some of our other tools say. Let's see, where's the Ichimoku cloud? Okay, the Ichimoku cloud, if you're not familiar with it, right in here, it's very popular. For the 1 hour, it broke above this Ichimoku cloud. It stayed above it, and now it's trying to bounce somewhere in here. If it manages to stay above, then it would be a nice right up, continuing a right up. If it breaks through and stays below here, then we are battling to try to get up above it again, and it just so happens right around that shoulder. That's interesting. So there's the second piece of information. The MA cross, so the MA is the moving averages. You got a 20 moving average and a 50 moving average. So on both of those, if we see, notice, beautiful. It bounced off the 50, back to the 20, it broke down below the 50, and this is pointing that it's very likely that we're going to hit that last little part from here down here before it starts to try to bounce. At least that's what it seems like from what I'm seeing there. So those also agree. There's one more that I'm going to put in here. And if you have the paid version of TradingView, which I would strongly recommend because it's very, very helpful, there's this volume profile. I'm going to take a fixed range, and we're going to see from here to where we are, where is the big resistance? Oh, look at that red line right there. Perfect. So that is confirming at a third level that right here on the 1 hour chart, it's saying that right there, it's going to have to prove that it can get above that line. So several things that are in agreement on here that are telling us there's a good possibility that we're going to see a head and shoulders, can come down to this region, and then potentially head on up to try to challenge this again. I think we're going to be ranging between this 29 cent to 15 cent range on and off for a little while. And then from there, once it gets clear and it gets a little less murky, if you would, then we'll be able to get a better sense of whether we're continuing up or down. And overall, since those of you who are following Bitcoin and have a sense and still know that Bitcoin still rules over the crypto market, if Bitcoin is going down, it's very likely that all the other alts are going to go with it at their respective time. So I would expect, since Bitcoin has a mid to longer mid-range drop potentially, then before it continues on to its next highs, I think it's very likely that we're going to see this play out to the downside. So if you liked this video and this was useful to you, awesome. Again, hit that like button and subscribe so that you can get more of these videos. That helps us obviously get a little more visibility, and for you to be able to get more of this for free without ever having to worry about that. Now, the tools that we mentioned in here, like TradingView and such, we'll put the link in below so that you can go ahead and use it. Now, if you use the free version, you can use a lot of what we have. If you use the paid version, it's an affiliate link, of course, so you will get a little bit from that. But at the same time, what you'll be able to do is be able to use a lot of the tools that they have, and you will be able to follow along using the same tools. All right, everybody, have an awesome day and enjoy, and may you be abundant in your trading.